Good evening. This is Defacto Weekly Review with me, Jargal Tampatarja. For this week, our three topics are about the new law or new law amendment about Mongolian political parties. This amendment is submitted to the Parliament of Mongolia. Second topic about meat industry, new step in the industry. Third topic is finally the court of DBM, Development Bank of Mongolia. Case started. So these are three topics we would like to share with you, our opinion. First, about this law about political parties. It's long-awaited law, 18 years, no change, in spite of critical demand of people, and not to have more transparent political parties in the country. This law draft was prepared by the President's office and submitted last week to the Parliament. Hopefully they will discuss it shortly. The main aim of this law, according to the people who made draft, first, to make political parties institute more, to make political parties of Mongolia into more policy institutes. Secondly, to solve the issue of financing of political parties. Third, to provide equal participation. The fourth, it will increase internal democracy of political parties. Well, actually, if it really happens, then the expectation is, first of all, there will be much better legal conditions for functioning of political parties in the country. And secondly, the political parties will not represent only their members, but a bigger, wider segments of the society. That means it will be more policy-oriented, policy parties. The third idea, if it is approved, this law, then the political parties will have certain responsibility, and they will increase the trust of people in political parties in Mongolia. And also, of course, the financing of political parties will be more clear. And hopefully these political parties will have more or less equal conditions for competition, and it will be very helpful to decrease the level of corruption in Mongolia. This draft was prepared actually in the consultation of 35 political parties existing in Mongolia. They have been meeting twice. They made own proposals, and the working group have met 10 times, according to the information from the President's office. Mongolian government had discussed that draft on April 12th and agreed to or decided to make certain changes in related laws also. So finally we have this law draft now at the Parliament. You know, first political party law in Mongolia was adopted in 1990, just the year of democracy change, and it was only amended in 15 years later in 2005. Now we have another amendment in 18 years. So what do we expect, for example, the caucuses of People's Party? They say that it has four importance. First, the political parties will have more responsibility. For example, if they have not participated in political general elections 2 times in a row, they will be moved to not active status, whatever it means. Second, each political party to be in election must be running their policy for the whole country, as some political parties are doing their operations on only selected provinces. The third is the political parties' financing will be transparent, and if, for example, this financial report is not audited, it will be again moved to that status of not active status. And the fourth, it's a very interesting shift. Now, the political parties' registration will be by Supreme Court, as before, But in between their start and finish of the political parties, I mean the lifespan, in between the daily work will be under the control of the Election General Commission or Committee. It's a good step because it's similar like the UK Electorate Commission, where in between, where the all income or other activities of political parties are under the operation, under the control of the Electorate Commission in England. So what is this non-active status of political parties? They made more clarification of it. For example, if they have not issued their financial report, if they have not participated 2 times in general election, if they have not convened their political party congress within 4 years.
12 o'clock.
So these are altogether should make political parties more disciplined, more institutions-like. So as I said, the registration will be done by Supreme Court, but in between them, Supreme Court at the beginning and the end of the political parties, or disclosure, opening and closing the political parties. In between them, their actions will be under the Election Commission of Mongolia. The other interesting thing is if a political party had not received at least 3% of votes, or say if it is 2 million voters, then it minimum 60,000 people have been voting for. If voted for a political party, then it will be financed from the government. The other thing is also in the parliament they will be financed by the amount of seats they got it, or by the votes they got it. So these kind of amendments are made into the law. The other thing was if political parties are moved, or they have been moving the political parties into the status of non-active status, then they will have also money penalty. The donation of a company or a legal entity to the political party is to be less than 27 million a year, and less than 6 million by an individual, by a citizen. So this draft was also discussed with the professor from Nottingham University, Professor Fernando Casal Bertoa, who is studying the political party's democracy. His opinion is interesting. He said that in cases like Mongolia, where a political party runs the country almost absolutely monopolistic way, it's political power colonization. That's the term he used. He argues that out of 36 political parties existing in the country, only 3 are active, but de facto only 1 is running the country for almost 8 years. And he was also asked about the majoritarian structure of election system and the gender quota. He said that if it is not 100% proportional, then you will never get the gender issue solved. He was bringing an example of Spain, where he is from. In Spain, 45% of parliament members are female, and their gender quota is 50-50. And that's why they have now 45% female parliament members. And in 1990, 30 years ago, there was only 1 female member in Spain. He also was mentioning about good example of South Korea, where they had a special policy and they had a substantially increased the number of female candidates in the parliament. The other thing is about the bribe. The political parties can, well, in many countries, here in Mongolia, we're bribing the voters, giving money, etc. But the money, this more or less solved, but however, any promises is regarded as a bribe as well, he said. For example, in some countries, including Spain, in 70s, just before election, many investment were coming to remove the villages, for example. They have been discussing it and they regard it as a bribe to voters, and they have now coordinated, and this kind of thing is not happening and nobody is promising nothing. Concerning the quote that for example, People's Party suggesting the mixed election system, proportional majoritarian system, with a ratio of 38-38. Democratic Party is suggesting 48 to 28, total 76. These are the seats in Mongolian parliament. He said that this is not also correct. It should be 100% proportional in order to have all political parties making their voices. So that was his comment on what's happening in Mongolia, in particular on the draft laws on political parties. That is going to be submitted. That will be that's submitted, and it will be discussed hopefully next week or shortly at the parliament. But personally, let me see. Personally, I think we should see that, because I have been waiting that for 18 years. Before each parliament election, every ruling party were promising, and finally they have not been discussing any amendments to the political parties law in Mongolia, which is not changed for the last 18 years. That's our first topic. Our second topic today is about the beef industry changes in Mongolia. For the first time, meat-oriented beef farms representatives got together in Mongolia in Siling-Aimak last week. If, say, 10 years ago, if you want to know about beef farm, we call it intensified beef farm, or farms where beefs are feeded with a special feed. There was only one firm or company that time. It was in Bolgangaimak, Hotuk Undur Som, and that farm is run by a Canadian citizen, Zanado Thiessen, with his family. And he was the for years only producer of high-quality beef to high-end restaurants in Mongolia. Now it looks like many people are interested in this business, and they have seen many common problems which was discussed at this forum in Siling-Aimak. And it was organized, consultation meeting was organized by their association and Ministry of Agriculture and Light Industry, Siling-Aimak Citizens Representative Office, and beef farm companies Qatsort and Qazar Agro. These were the organizers of the meeting. It was so much interest that 500 people come. They had to cut the registration earlier, and 500 people from 14 Aimaks and Ulaanbaatar city. And after the consultation, the meeting, they went also to 2 summons of Siling-Aimak, Tsaganur, Zumburing, where they have seen the beef farm of, we call it intensified beef farm. And in a country like Mongolia, it is not that easy business. And they have been gathering all problems. They have discussed and what is the way to solve all their common problems. So this intensified beef farm, this business starts, they need to solve many problems before to start this business. It's a matter of pasture land, it's a matter of feed, It's a matter of finding the right feed for animals and to be animal sick, to be free from the all possible sickness of animal. And mostly all this industry is oriented for export because it's very expensive for domestic consumers. Mongolia has 3.4 million people, and according to their estimation, some 200,000 people, 200,000 of them only are able or they're willing to consume this expensive beefs. So it is a matter of first solving the issue of feed before you start beef industry, the beef farm, they agreed. And it's also a matter of defending, protecting from all possible diseases. So if you start beef farm, you need to have own field where you can grow these feeds. If you don't have it, you need to work with particular companies that they grow wheats or whatever, any other feed for animals. There was a person who was sharing his concerns, and he had 1,000 cows, and he had given to some herdsmen to take care of in Tornut Aimak. In general, the main conclusion of this consultation is in Mongolia, it must be a combination of two methods of growing that beef cows. For example, it is to be from May 20 to October 1st, the animals should be on pasture land, and from November to May 20th, it is to be in the feed lot. That's the only way to be successful in Mongolia, giving our harsh weather conditions and cold winter, etc. So it is to be a combination of these two methods. They have agreed. They have also agreed that we need to develop in Mongolia a cluster system where things are specialized. One is preparing feeds, the other is buying it and giving using for their feed lots. And so altogether it is to be some kind of cluster to be developed with the way how cluster works. The other issue they have touched is the issue of a protected area. They need to have a restricted area for the feedlot, otherwise they go for pasture land during the summer, and that protected area, or it's clean from or protecting from all possible sicknesses, to be approved or certified by importing countries or importers. In our case, it's mostly Chinese company who need to come to his place feedlot and certify that this is protected, this is a special restricted area where animals have no sickness, etc. So that's why they ask the state is helping in that regard. And they're also complaining that there is only one professional at the Ministry of Agriculture and Light Industry who is responsible for meat export. We need more people, they say. So in general, they have discussed this kind of, I forgot to say that they have been talking about the general degradation of pasture efficiency. A lot of pastures are overgrazed in Mongolia, and the one they really need to have a combination, not only for the beef industry, but for other industry. And that's why Ministry of Agriculture and Light Industry will organize in the middle of May in central Aimak about milk farms, the similar consultation, in mid of June for sheep and goats. So we will have at least another 2 consultation of the herdsmen about the agriculture, the main industry of Mongolia, which is also meat industry. So that's what I especially want to highlight for this week. So our third topic this week is about the court case of Development Bank of Mongolia. It's very long-awaited court cases because this Development Bank of Mongolia, which was funded or secured or guaranteed by the government of Mongolia, in other words, from the budget, a bank that's supposed to borrow money from foreign market and to redistribute through loan to companies that will create economically important projects. But it happened in a wrong way. That's why this half of the loan of this Development Bank of Mongolia are regarded bad loan, and that bank is almost in bankruptcy. That's why it was announced the year before. Now the court where 80 accused were called to this court. One of these accused said, Mr. Batpayer said that the loan is it's a civic law issue, not criminal law issue. That's why he's refusing, or he's appealing to have this court not as a criminal court, but as a civic court. But however, these people were using the money, public money, for their own purposes in completely wrong direction than the loan are aimed at. So that's why I will give you now a few examples where this kind of conclusion you can make, but the final decision is by of course, judges. Well, for example, this is about the accused, Mr. Shinbatar, who was the chair of the board of this Development Bank of Mongolia at his own time. It was actually in 2013. By the way, this Development Bank of Mongolia was initially run by Korean professionals who were running the Development Bank of Korea. They were supposed to run the bank, but the government has changed, and they were kicked out after 1 year under the pretext that Mongolians have learned everything. So they have learned really everything, and that's why they have misused all this fund. And this guy, who was the chair of this fund, was allowing the road by energy resources made to the southern port from the mine, some 270 kilometers long, outer road, was purchased by the government and shifted to Irtnis Mongol. And they find here that the decision was not made properly. And that Shinbatar chair was also giving money which was misused or wrongly used by Birin Group. We talk about $22 million US dollar. And the owners accused playing a casino with a substantial part of this money taken in cash in the casino in Singapore, for example. This court is going now already on the 5th day, and it's going to be very long too, because there are 80 people who are accused. Another case, Mr. Chojil Jalbo, who was the deputy director of this bank, was he had on the purpose get united other people, and they have given a 25 billion MNT to Chinggis Bank, another commercial bank, which later became bankrupt and were not able to pay back this amount of money. The other thing was, for example, this man who was a deputy director, Chojil Jalbo, of the bank, he had given $29 million US to a company which has no experiences, just newly created, politically connected, company $29 million US to a company called Mongol Dry Milk, no payment back. So they have been reading all this, court procedure, very long papers, reading. So it takes quite a long time. The other thing is also the management of Development Bank of Mongolia was also misusing their power in a wrong way, and they have given $1,790,000 to a company called Injir Company, and which was not paid back, etc., etc. There are so many. I mean, every day they go through this court, and they made a very interesting decision. I will introduce about that to you. There are, for example, people who are accused for receiving bribe. There are 5-6 individuals. Then there are some 60 also individuals who were misusing their public position, public power, position power. Or there are 3 guys who are now accused for giving the bribe, money washing, wrong witnesses, giving wrong information to several people, or the other who's bribe giving, money laundering, misusing their power, or faking the documents, financial documents, misusing their power, etc., etc. So 83, it's the largest, criminal case, court case, and we will see. I especially highlight it because it's long waited by the public who are looking for justice, because otherwise people see that the government people have been creating a bank that they are using only for themselves and now not paying the money. So people are angry because this is discounted, lower interest rate loans, which is not accessible by ordinary businesses, ordinary people. While these years the commercial bank loan interest rate was over 20%, which is unacceptable for normal businesses. That's one of the reasons why businesses were so slow, economy was so slow for the last few years, and deteriorating conditions, and exchange rate of Mongol Tugruk was falling substantially, about 10% every year or so, which is very dramatic. So finally, that on the 4th day at the end, the head of the court that day, the judge Baldbatar said that first we will now make an order by the time of the loan. Then the court procedure will go by in that sequences. Second, not necessary read to all documents, because it is really taking a long time. The third is some cases asked to be separated. There is cases are separated. A very interesting case in Mongolian court system. Say there are a group of people comes to the court, then they are taking 1-2 individuals. They call it separation, and they are supposed to discuss it separately, which almost does not happen. In the end, this guy is somehow freed. The third, some advocates asked additional witnesses to come. He had said that it's impossible. The fifth and interesting thing is they will do the job only for 8 hours a day. Otherwise, they cannot sit down day and night there. So hopefully there will be many 8 hours, days of courts in Mongolia in the coming days or months maybe. So that's what's happening with the Development Bank of Mongolia, bad loans. It's very unfortunate, but we have to brief you about exactly what's happening in this case. So these are 3 topics I would like to highlight for this week. And you can rewatch the program from tomorrow on my website, jargaldefacto.com. And now, thank you very much for staying with us, and see you next week.